Hi, YouTube. I hope you're doing well. I'm doing okay. Um, I've been staying up late because Doug had a late night. Um, my cat just jumped on. I was looking to see what she was up to. Well, anyway, and not getting up as early as I usually do. Well, this morning, um, I heard Doug get up, and I'm thinking, geez, I hope he makes coffee because I usually get up early and make coffee. And I thought I smelt it brewing, and he did. He brought me in a cup of coffee, and he said, "It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon." I'm like, "What?" I started laughing, and I'm like, "No." And he goes, "No, it's only like about 8:30, you know." But so my day started out a kind of goofy, I guess is one way to put it. But yeah, well, I don't know. With all these, I just gotta speak on some history that I know for a fact, and people can take it from there and whatever they want to do. Being that the so called president of the Ukraine is Jewish descent, Khazar Dark Ball, the same that occupy Israel, and the same bloodline as Putin, and it's all one big charade, and it's a civil war just like over in Syria, and we have no business over there whatsoever. The history of the whole thing, for people's information, is um, way past 20 years ago now, when Mikhail Gorbachev was the leader of Russia, and Ukraine branched off. It was never signed any documents, anything. So now, with Hunter Biden and his dad owing the Ukraine money, I have videos even before Biden was elected, telling everybody that we were going to end up paying the bill. And what was passed into bill, with the arms race, with enhancing our military. Now we are sending troops and guns and missiles and every other thing over to the Ukraine. That money that was taken from the taxpayers to enhance our army is now going to our arm of Russia, who claims to be our enemies. Here's another thing. Before, I was talking about how the World Economic Forum will take these young leaders like Trudeau and Putin and whoever. I don't know Putin for sure, but I know Trudeau for sure, and like Greta Thunberg, and whatever. Take these and put them in pertinent positions around the world, so they can have controllers within the whole system. And let me see, I'll light a cigarette where I was going with that. My point is, the Ukraine is still a part of Russia. It has never been signed any kind of agreement. It's just like Israel taking over Pakistan. You know, there's no signed agreements, and now all of a sudden, what, like NATO is the good guys just because they're there? It's just like the United Nations. They're up in Canada. There's cargo planes from China up in Canada by our border. Why? I wonder why. This is what I'm thinking. There's already the Russian mafia in the United States, cartel, along with so called Chinese spies that have been rounded up around in like universities and different areas within the United States, even to the fact that the government officials have never stopped any foreign country from buying land in the United States. Isn't that odd? How can somebody that is communistic, so to speak, or even anybody from Israel, how can they come and buy land in our United States? Any of them, you know. I wonder how far we'd go if we went over and tried to buy land in Israel. Wonder how that would go over. Well, anyway, I believe that these people, and some of us know Russian people, and they're our friends and whatever, that it didn't work turning us against our Muslim friends, hasn't worked turning us against our Chinese friends. So now they're going to try it with the Russians. Well, my point is they're already within the United States, and the borders that will be penetrated by some of these or whatever these troops, I really do see that they would try and use that as a ploy and a fear tactic against the people in the Americas or the United States at least. I kind of see that that could be a thing. So, but basically, with the money that was put into bettering our military has now gone to another country that Biden's son and him just happened to owe money to. Well, Biden's son. So, little ironic that the United States taxpayers are paying for a war that's a civil war. There's people that are protesting against the war all over the world. There's people in, they say they're always painting Putin as the bad guy, of course, always the big scary Putin and whatever. But the fact of the matter is that it'd be like Mexico, or not even, because there was an agreement where they sold us land and that became part of the United States. So it wouldn't even be like that because there was a written verbal agreement. There was no separation agreement with the Ukraine or Bosnia. Um, there's some other little countries that are still part of the USSR, period. So we are basically taking nuclear bombs over to our enemies like we left in Afghanistan, which is a little ironic, isn't it? That we were over there doing what we had to do, so they said, for um what was it, 20 years? All the money that went into that and lives that were lost. But here's something too, like the civil war in Syria. Um and I finally had to put a stop to it. There was a friend of mine on Facebook, still there, passed around the same picture 4 years later of a man and his daughter was dead in his arms. And I said, how many times are you going to pass this same photo around? You know, I'm not saying it didn't happen, but don't make it look like it just happened. It's the same with, there's a Ukrainian woman that's a crisis actor that is in a lot of photos of things that are going on. I shared a pastor of a church from Kiev, Ukraine, that said they didn't even have to go into their basements because of the bombs or anything like that. I saw some other footage of a woman, the only person crying or scared in the whole um footage that I watched was a baby crying because of the noise of the bomb. But like other places in the world that they have destroyed are places that they want to build back up and cover things up. Like Chernobyl, why did they go after that first, you ask yourself? Or did you ask yourself? Well, did you recall about, oh, maybe, no, I'm not going to say for certain, but I'm thinking it's about 23 years ago, that crisis or thereabouts, within a couple decades here. There was said to have been child trafficking and remains of people in that area when Chernobyl went off. So why did they choose to bomb that first? I mean, there really is nobody living there anymore, but there was, like underground facilities for people from Russia that were mining the uranium to make bombs. So things are a little intertwined, but what I'm telling you is it's like when they if they start a fire like on some place like the Notre Dame or whatever, it's very very old or whatever. If it's some place where it's going to cost them more to ventilate venerate the place, to refurbish it, than it is to destroy it and build something new or sell the land that it is on. There's a lot of these types of things that's going on. Well, back to the pastor that was sharing that they didn't even have to go in their basements. What I'm saying is these are targeted hits. I'm not saying that there's not people that won't be taken out, because there are people in the world that are targets, but it's definitely not any of the blood of the dark cabal, the Khazars, that are Jews that are strategically placed around this planet to control everybody else through the World Economic Forum, NATO, the United Nations, and all these other alphabetized agencies that the common person has no connection with and absolutely no say so over what goes on in those entities. That's what's been on my mind. So, what I'm saying is, it's not that people aren't going to get hurt. It's all a part of the fear tactics and the genocide that is going on. So, anybody had an AIDS test yet for your magic potion that you got put in you? It's one germ. It's all related to the syphilis germ that makes up all other viruses that is in the human body that can be mutated. And it's already been done, and it's already in humans, and it just needs to be activated. Have you ever had or been around somebody that had a permanent to curl their hair? Well, and I used to do this for my mom a lot. You put the curlers in, and you have this first part of the serum that you put on the hair. While it's wet, you roll it up. After you have all the curlers in, you put the activator on. It's a two-part system, similar to what's going on in human bodies, whether it be through radio frequency, microwaving, serums, food, sugar, processed foods. Take your pick. They're trying to get us from every angle. But the bug that, like, can, what is that called? Just a second. I think it's Candidus is called, that causes yeast infections inside women. All these things, even cancer, is related to one germ. One is the stem of the whole thing, and they already know that. So they can't get me for disinformation on this because it's a fact, and I can prove it. And for you YouTube so-called people that think that you know what you're doing with communities, I wrote an article on morgellons.org. I have my name, I have my face. Go look it up. And there are the facts of all the germs that are correlating in what's going on right now. Right now. The gestation periods of the different um, um, components that are either activated or not activated in a person. And if a person actually has like the Morgellon worm or fibers affecting their body is trying to expel the sickness. So, and other people's bodies aren't trying to expel that. That's the difference. So, and this is scientifically proven. This is some badass science. And yeah, I mean, I really do have the smartest, most loving, caring friends in the whole world. I just watched a Bruce Seasall. He only speaks French and English and German, and now did a video in Russian for a Russian audience to watch some of his moon and sun footage on his videos. Way to go, Bruce. I mean, and you're so musically inclined. That those are God-given talents. This is not a mistake. You know, even the things I know and I can't prove right here online, but have proved, it can be proven. So be careful, YouTube, when you want to mess with true medical facts and true science and true humanity, history, geography. Most people don't even know where Russia sits on the globe, or if it is a globe. There's debates on this plane of existence we call Earth. Now, that part's real and it's tangible. Yeah, I'm a little radicalized today. I had other things going on in my life too, so yeah, it's like whatever. I'm even suspicious of the truckers. I mean, yeah, it looked all good with all their flags and everything, but still something sneaky, like something's up with that too. Like it's not all just the people, just the regular people, you know, like with the food shortages and the different things that are being pushed upon people right now. And then you don't hear much about the sickness that's been going around, this plague that has everybody falling over in the streets like plagues do. Have you ever during this whole thing been out in public and watched somebody just drop right in front of you? Well, maybe you have, but I'm calling a big bullshit alert on that because it isn't happening. Because that part isn't real. People aren't dropping dead in the streets like a actual plague would be, like the Black Plague or the bubonic plague, bubonic, you know. caused from fleas, caused from a worm, like the syphilis worm. What I'm saying really is all related and all connected. Wow, some snow just fell off the roof um, of the shop. It's like 40 degrees out. It's just beautiful. And tomorrow is the first actual, and yes, talk about satanic sacrifice day. The first real day of spring is tomorrow. So from here on out, and just think about this, people actually sign up for that sacrifice. And the ones that are doing it, they know full well what they're doing. You know, it's the unsuspecting ones, the ones that really don't have a clue what's going on. Those are the ones that, well, God's with them. I know that for a fact, but doesn't make it any nicer. And even if it were all false flag, it still wouldn't be any kinder or any better on human beings to even be put through anything like that. I'm just saying if. I have no clue. Well, I got a clue, but and I'm telling you my clues. War is nonsense. There's no reason for it. There really isn't. Human beings don't do that. So that tells me they're not too human, are they? All of them. When you're watching that on TV, just keep remembering that obviously these are not people of God, no matter what it looks like. You know, even some of them carrying around bloody children, no matter what it looks like. Just keep that in mind. I'm not saying it's all fake. I'm just saying don't live under the threat of the nuclear war like they're trying to push the fear, the low vibration of what's going on with the sickness and the wars and lack of food and all the concerns, no jobs, no place to live, all these concerns that are on the world that are keeping the human condition stifled because most people are not using their instincts and their God-given abilities of insight and remote viewing and um these things are real. They're not just gifts from God. Of course it's a if you're gifted or and you can actually do things a little more than other people, but human beings are born with an inner knowing that they're trying to suppress. You know, it's just like remote viewing. It's just like me talking to you on here. It's electronic. That's how God sees us in his ether and in our blood and our flesh. You know, he's pretty much the main basic supercomputer that could never be recreated as hard as they try. But, so it really is important for people to understand don't live in fear, number one. And number two, if you've seen the amount of so called wars that I've seen, and the ones, okay, that's, you know, a big thing. History is a huge thing that they don't want to talk about. They're not giving you the history of what happened. And I go back to like people were like, well, the Japs, they're so bad, they're so this, they're so that. And good thing we bombed their asses and everything else. And I'm like, but you don't go back into the 1930s or 1929 when British and American troops invaded their country and the horrific things that they did to them during that invasion that brought the war upon the American people and Pearl Harbor during World War II. So, you got to know the history of what's going on in a country before you can make a solid assessment of it and any kind of decision at all concerning any of it. Your best bet is to say, we're not approving of this war, period. I don't care where it is in the world. I don't approve. You're not making my mind or my heart or my soul a part of it at all. Not anyone I love. And you're all covered by God. So just keep that in mind. The whole world is being played by the dark cabal. End of story. Doesn't matter. Pick up a pop and read the label. All cabal. You know, fluoride, toothpaste, take your pick. The air you're breathing. Project Blue Beams, the things they're putting in the sky. I mean, all of it. It's some of the stuff in the skies, and we will see signs and wonders. Yes, that's true. But there's going to be a whole lot of fakery. I'm saying like fake missiles or actual bombings of places that they do want to destroy anyway to rebuild or claim. It's their war games. Let the demons play their own game. Don't get involved. That's my best advice I can give you. And if you don't believe me on the history, look it up. It might take some digging because they're hiding everything possible. Seriously, so. Hey, just look at the symptoms of progressive syphilis or just syphilis within itself. And think of even the common cold while you're reading that. And start connecting everything. And following the money, that is a big deal. Our president definitely is one of the biggest shills God ever created. Well, anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. It's a sad situation. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that live over there in Russia and their sister country, the Ukraine, that have really heartfelt troubles with their relations that they're being forced to fight by the world leaders that are controlled by the Economic Forum, the Dark Cabal, the Khazars, the Jews that are Russian, and Chinese, because that's where they descend from. So it's called History and Geography. All right, everybody, have the best day you can. I love you all. Thank you for joining me. Share the information. I know it sounds a little confusing. It's been hundreds and hundreds of years they've been doing this, and it seems to work wonders to wreck an economy and then boast it back up with the taxpayers' money. There's always a good excuse, and they'll always find one to make the money that you don't have, but they do. So keep that in mind. And that's why. All right. Peace and love from Pine City, Minnesota. Yeah. Blah, blah, blah. USA. Have a good day, everybody.